they can check it out. But so you can see this writes off page, right?
Yeah, yes.
You can see it. Okay, good
Yeah.
deal. All right. So if I take away the duct and duct notation, there's our basic layout of our house. Now, I was tinkering around a while ago and added this, so take that away. All right, so now you can see that. Now, what I ended up coming up with on this was way more than it should have been. So I ended up with 38,000 and 3,600 on cooling and 63,000 on heating, which is like, and they're saying I need like a 4.5 ton unit for this little house. So I was like, something ain't right. But if you go up to the subtotal, it looks pretty good. I got 23,000 and 44,000. My ducks are losing and gaining like a ton to a ton and a half. So something's going on there. So I got to messing around with it, and this kind of goes back to that last video. So if you all watch that, this will help. Um, I think I figured out how to do it, but the problem is I can't figure out how to edit it in my existing house without drawing it all over again. Uh, I'm sure there's a way. I just can't figure out how to. Since I didn't do a block load, I did a room by room and I pieced it all together. I can't figure out how to edit this whole structure like a block because when I click on it, it just selects a room. And if I do this, like it selects everything, but it doesn't really give me that same option that I think I need. So here's what I think happened or what needs to happen. If you go into your let's see, your load meter, it shows me like 18,000, 29% of my heating is going through these ducts. It's 13,000, 37% of my cooling is being gained through these ducts. Something's not right there. Something else that I realized later on was that I had messed up on the floors, and I told you all to do your floors based on floor partition and just do it that way. And then I kept thinking, like, where is the crawl space? Like, it's not saying anything about a crawl space at this point. So if you go to exterior floor, you can select crawl space. That's where it needs to go. So all those floors need to be built as as exterior floors over a crawl space. I selected sealed, and then you can add cavity insulation if you want, but our house doesn't have any. You can add exterior insulation, which is, let's see, take that away. Crawl space insulation. You know, if you had crawl space insulation, you could do that. Oh, somebody's waiting in the lobby. Let's let him in. Hey, Brendan.
Hey.
Hey, man. So we're recording, so just kind of, you can chime in if you need to. I'm showing them some of the mistakes that I found after I recorded that in WriteSoft. I found a couple things that were off in my reading, so this may help you. So I'm recording this, that way everybody can watch this later. But if you've got any questions with that, feel free to chime in. So I've got my house pulled up here, and like I was telling them, I think my problem seems to be in my zone information because I'm coming up with like 4 ton, 4.5 ton for this little house. And when I break down my load, I'm getting like a ton to a ton and a half in duct gains and losses. And that isn't right. Like that's my biggest gain and loss because before that, I'm at pretty much what we got in class, about 23,000 and 44,000. So something's going on with these ducts. So I went back to the drawing sheet, and I think what needed to happen, if I could edit it now, if I could change the whole thing, it'd be great. But I can't, or I can't seem to be able to, since it's drawn as room by room. So you go into load preferences, and there's all kinds of stuff in here. It's pretty cool. So you can create some sort of load, any sort of load preference. So I just made this one. I called it blah. I just hit some numbers. So if I want to make a new one, and I just want to call this long house sample. Okay. All right. So I can build this, and I can say, all right, this is, if I want to put a description, it is air only heating and it is air only cooling. So it's not hydronics or anything like that. The room height, I can change that. So I think that was something maybe we had questioned earlier, like how do you change your overall room height? I can select it there. The window type, this is cool. I didn't realize this was in here. So this is your window shading. This is your shading factor stuff that was in your glass schedule. You can go in here and say, this one comes over 1 foot. This one separates B to there by 1 foot. I think that's what our plan says. And the window height is a standard, 4 feet or whatever. And then you can change that when you draw your windows. But this is kind of giving you just an overall, instead of having to go through and do each one of them. So in my video, I realized that this wasn't in there, and I went in and had to kind of enter that into the details. I didn't realize that this page was here, so you could do this default. So that's pretty handy. You can also do blinds. So we couldn't do blinds in the sample that I was doing. I just did like drapes or something because that was the only option it gave me. But here's your blinds. So you could go in here and select your blinds. Insect screen, it has one on the outdoor or it doesn't or whatever. How much all that stuff is in here. So select that. Then on my duct loss and gains, I think this is where my problem was. But the problem is when I change this, it won't change it to what I already drew. So it's like I'm thinking I have to go back and draw it again, which is weird. I don't know. I'm sure there's a way. I just can't figure out. It's like it won't apply it to what I've already drawn when I do it. So your roof material, all that stuff we've already selected. Your configuration, it's a trunk and branch with perimeter outlets. So going around the outside of the house is the way we're going to design it. The return, so this is supply, this is return. The supply is located in the crawl space. So you can put it wherever you want it. It's in an enclosed crawl space that is tight. And this is in the same thing. And it is trunk and branch as well. All right. And then your sealing, how well it's sealed. I'm going to say it's really well sealed. And your insulation value, you can change that. So it does have an R6 insulation value already on there. So I'm just going to leave that. You can change some of this stuff, but not all of it. But that should change because before it was in the attic. And I'm not even sure if it was saying that it was sealed or insulated very well. So I'm thinking that should make quite a difference. But the problem is when I do it, I can hit apply. And then I can get out of here. And I can find that, like when I'm doing this, I can select this. But the problem is it doesn't seem to want to let me apply it to this whole house. Because when I do, it doesn't change my load. So I don't know unless something changed. So let's try it. Let's see. Zone information, still at 4.5 tons. So it didn't change it. So what I'm thinking that maybe I need to do, and I was doing this a while ago just as a sample. If you have like a second floor or a basement or whatever, you can go into this sheet on the right and you can put, you can say edit layer, but it doesn't really give you much options there. You can delete a layer. You can add a sheet. So the layers are underneath of this current sheet. A new sheet would be like a new floor. So if you had a basement or you had an upstairs, whatever, you would add that. So I'm going to add a sheet just for argument's sake. So I'm going to call it block. All right. So if I wanted to come in here and draw this new room, or we could call it, it could be a basement if we wanted to say it was obviously we don't have a basement, but if you was doing that, you would just draw it. I'm going to draw it offset so that way I can see which one's which and I can move them. I can delete one or the other. Now let's see. All right, so in this room, notice I can take that complete building away. So all my stuff's gone from upstairs. It's still in my load, but it's gone from this picture. So this is just going to show me what I need for that room. And it should be pulling from all of these presets that I have up here. So how much does this need? Well, according to this, it only needs like a little bit of nothing. And so I don't know. Let's see. Looks like the room. Of course, we don't have any windows, we don't have any doors, anything like that. But now, let's see. If I go, I want to do away with this all together, just for argument's sake. I want to do away with this entire sheet. I want to delete it. I can always bring it back. I can undo. So there's my first floor completely gone. All right, now it gives me this new load, this new block without any windows, doors, and all that stuff. So it's saying 780 CFMs. That seems more in the ballpark, and I think once you add your other stuff, you'd be good. But I want to see what that duct loss and gain is. So you go into your zone information. Yeah, look, now it's like 1176 and 429, whereas before it was like 18,000. So I think that's the problem. I just wish you could, and I think you might be able to change it if it was a block load, but because it's room by room, it's like it doesn't want to let you make changes to the whole place on that anyway. So like here, I think I could select this and say, all right, let's make a new one, and I want to change it. So that way, let's see if it's different. How do I do that? Load preferences. All right, let's make a new one and let's make it different. So let's just call this different. All right, so let's say this one, still air to air, air only, duct loss and gain. Let's say this is in a vented attic, and we're just going to leave it that way. All right, so there's our different one. We can use that if we want. Let's see if it'll let me change it. So apply. Now. No, it doesn't. So it's like it seems like you have to do that first, which is just kind of interesting. Does anybody see anything that it looks like I'm missing? I know this is all Greek to you all. It is to me too. I'm figuring it out at the same time you all are, but I think that's what's going on. I think that you would have to set that preference first. Is the only way that I can, and I was getting ready to go back and actually redraw it just to see, but I think that's the deal. And then that should give us our new layout, because like 4.5 ton is way too much for this house. But are you all kind of seeing what I'm talking about? At least a little bit. So I'm going to do away with, I'm going to undo this. Or I'm going to delete
Until
this.
I get in it and start messing with it, I have no idea if it's going to help me. Right?
Yeah. And I know it's a little different, but I'm going to delete this sheet. Oh, I can't delete the last layer.
Is the calculation counting the first and second floor, Adam, or is it just
this one right now? I did away with the first floor, or I did away
Okay.
with the old floor, and I just made a block. I'm just sampling around right now to see.
Okay.
So when I deleted this sheet, deleted that whole sheet, it deleted that whole floor. So now if I wanted to come back and make another floor, if I wanted to say, okay, now that was my block, we know what, so this is one way you could do this. If you wanted to do a block load and then turn around and do a room by room load, you could do that. I think it's kind of double the work, but I was kind of tinkering with it just to see if that seems to be the problem. So now that I've got these samples in here, let's see if I can add another one real quick. And actually, when you get to drawing this room by room, it's not that hard. I was surprised how quick it was. So I'm going to add another sheet. I'm going to call this long house room by room. All right, you can set your elevation. If it's a second floor, that would be 10 feet up or whatever. It's not saying like altitude. It's just saying elevation above the ground. So if that was your second story, then that's how you would specify that. All right, so here I'm going to come in here. I'm going to do away with, I want to hide all this stuff, and I want to draw a new floor. I'm going to draw it here. A new room. So I'm going to pull up my plan. I've got my longhouse pulled up over here to the side, just for reference. And so you all can kind of reference that later. And I did this in that other video, but I'm going to do it again real quick. It didn't take that long, actually. So you just pick a spot and you just start building this house like Legos. And I apologize if my video last night ends up making very little sense. It was like 12:30 and I was trying to crank this video out. So it may or may not, it may be more harm than good. But so the first room is laundry room. And we know that it has a door in it. So you can either build all the stuff in the room and then go on to the next room, or you can do all your walls and then come back and put your doors and windows in. If I wanted to put a door in, I would just stick it there, and then I can specify the door. So that door is 32 by 78. So that's 2.5 feet by 6.675, I think, or 6.667. I mean, I think what that comes to. It's got all these windows and doors are odd sized, but so that's that door. That's that room. If I wanted to change anything about it, I could. If it was a different door, I could change it by right clicking and go into here. So basically, anytime you add something, it's going to go off of your defaults that you already set up. But then if you want to change it, you can change that particular window or door. So next room, we'll draw the square. Only time I need to draw the one with the little corner cut off of it is if I'm going to like draw it in wall by wall, if it's got angles and stuff in it. So if it's just a square room, this room is 11 by 11. And this is your dining room. So you can actually call these whatever you wanted them. If you wanted to go ahead and rename those, you can go in here and just say, this is laundry. And then that way, when it pulls up your load, it's going to say, instead of saying room, whatever, it's going to say kitchen. All right. The kitchen has a window in it that is 33 by 48. So I can right click that and I can pull up the information on that window. Wait, I need out of that. I didn't select the window. There we go. Well, there we go. You got to make sure you click the window. All right, so if I wanted to change that window, I can. This is my predetermined window that I have in here. This is my A windows. So they're wood clad, they're operable, no storm pane, all that stuff. So that's your A windows. And then your B windows, you can go in and make a few changes to it if you need to. I'm not going to get that carried away. Oh, looks like somebody else is jumping in here. So, hello. We are recording, so if you just want to kind of hang tight here and watch, if you got any questions, chime in. But yeah, I'm just recording this and I'm going to post it later to Blackboard. So I'm just building a room by room again with some mistakes that I think I made. So you can go back and watch the beginning of this video once I post it and see what those mistakes were. And so I'm just trying to redraw it real quick. Next room is 9 by 11. So you'll see once you do this a little bit, it actually gets pretty easy. And so what I'm noticing while I'm doing this is I really liked the cool count because it was handy, it was quick. But if you did this a little bit, I honestly think this almost seems better, and it has way more capabilities. But I still kind of think it, where you can see it really helps me. I think that way you're putting everything where it belongs versus just writing it out. So that's just my 2 cents worth. So anything I want to change on these, now notice, now it has changed my internal shades because I went up and set those preferences. So earlier, before, when I made the house before, it wouldn't give me the option to set internal shades as blinds and 50% and all that. It wouldn't give me it'd give me the option for a bug screen. But none of that was in there. And so because I went to these load preferences up here, and I said, okay, I want to set my overhangs. Now it's automatically setting those versus me having to go to every single window and tell it what the overhang is. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty handy. Now on the ends, we may still have to edit those because they're not going to be 1 foot and 1 foot. They're going to be 5 feet and 8 feet. And I think it tells us in the plans what they are. So, but for what it's worth, that's pretty handy. So I did not know that was in there when I was doing this earlier. So I'm just going to cancel back out of that. So I had that set before I started drawing. And that's the same way with the duct insulation and all that stuff. So I'm hoping now that I've got those presets in that this new drawing will be less than 4.5 ton because that's what I got the first time. And it threw everything off. So it's 11 wide by, let's see, 10 by 11. All right, so this room is the bathroom 1, and this room is bedroom 3. It has a window in it, so we'll throw that window in there real quick. And I'm kind of doing this quick and dirty, so it may not be exact, but so it's 66 by 48. So I'm just going to draw it a certain measurement, and then I can go in here and change it. So I don't know what 66 comes to right offhand. It's 5.5 feet, I think. 5.5 by 48 tall. So I can change that in these presets or in the specifics of that window. And if it was a different type of window, then I could select this top one and go in here and select the difference. So for now, I just made one window that was my A window. So all these are A's. There are a couple B's on the front, and we'll change those. All right, so everything else should be standard based on what I already set up. So I think the key is to do those presets, everything you know about the house first for the most generic thing that you're going to have. And then if you have something that's different, you can go in and change that. Versus just starting to draw this house and then trying to change those. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it applies. It won't apply it to the house. So I don't know if that's a glitch or if that's something that's maybe in the full version and not in the demo, or I don't know. But it drove me crazy last night. I was up forever trying to figure out where I went wrong, and I finally just decided to draw it again. So throwing a window in. That window is 51 by 48. So 51 is 4.25 feet. It's still an A window, so that should be the same. So exit out of that. Throw another window in this wall. And it is 33 by 48, which is 2.75 feet. Like I said, odd shaped windows in this house. I think they did it on purpose just to be mean. And you'll notice like this dark line keeps moving. That's your exterior walls. Once you connect two boxes together, it knows that those are interior walls. And so right now it thinks that this is an exterior wall. And as soon as I add another room to it, it's going to move that big line outside. So if you ever get a point where you have like right here, if I draw this next room out and I say, okay, bathroom 2 is 5 by 5. Okay. And I come down here and I say 5 by 5. All right, there it is. Okay, now that's obviously an issue because they're not connected. So if I put it there, then that wall becomes interior. So this is bedroom 2. This is bathroom. And labeling these is going to be handy because when you come back, once you look at your load, you're going to see exactly what's going on with each room versus just room 13 or something. I'm going to save the hallway for last because that kind of is everything that's left. Once you get done, you're going to have halls and closets and stuff. And so you're going to have to draw that out. So you won't want to forget to do that. But I'm going to put a window in. This window is a window as well. And it's a small window. It is 2 foot by 4 foot, I think. Yeah, 2 by 4. Well, yeah, there we go. So I'm going to edit that. I'll say it's 2. And notice I set the direction of my house before I started. You can change that anytime. So if you want to say, oh, the house north is this way or north is that way. So I've set my north already. Next room, just draw another room. So it kind of just becomes rinse and repeat after a while. 14 by 15. And if it's easier for you to draw it down in the, let's say 15, It's 14 deep, 15 wide. There. All right. So if it's easier to draw it kind of over to the side and then move it in, that's okay. Just make sure that that dark line goes away. It's pretty hard to mess that up because you can't really put it just a couple inches off. It's going to be a whole foot. So that room, I'm going to add a window. I'm going to add another window. And both of these are A windows as well, so they're my standard windows. Now, these do have different overhangs, so I need to go in here and check these out because they're on the ends. So the others, we said the overhang was overhang horizontal projection. How far does the overhang come over? It comes over a foot. Or overhang vertical separation, we set the default as 1, but on these ends it's going to be more because it's got a peak above it. And so I can change those right here. Get out of here. I think I can. Okay, so this one, it says it's 5 feet according to the plan. So I can change that for each window. So this one, it says it's 8 feet because it's in the middle. So I can go in here and change 8. This one is 5 feet. So I can change that. So anything you need to change about any particular part, once you build it, just right click it and you can go in and you can make it completely different if you want. So if I wanted to come into this room and I want to say, okay, here's bedroom 1, right? This is the bedroom in the front. Okay, so it's not the master, but bedroom 1. And let's say that this room has a different type of floor in it. I can right click that. I can look at the room, the floor type, and I can say, well, this one is hardwood. All right, done. Doesn't change it for the whole house. It just changes it for that one. Open to the space below, no. Wall, if I want to put a different wall on it, different ceiling. If this one has a vaulted ceiling in it, let's say, then you could click on this and say, well, you know, it's different. It's not under an attic, it's up against the roof. So, you know, it's a vaulted ceiling. So you could say it's that, you know, or whatever. So cancel that. I'm not going to change it. Floor, same thing. Room. If the room was taller, so if this had taller ceilings in it, you could change that right here in the room. And just say, oh, it's got 10-foot ceilings or whatever. So you can change anything on any particular part. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty easy once you get figured out, but it's a little tough to figure it. All right, so the next part gets a little bit weird because it says my hallway is 8 by 14, but then there's a closet that it doesn't seem to account for. So I think that closet is 2 feet, but I'm not sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the other side and I'm going to start building all the rooms I know, and then I'm going to fill in the blank because I did that yesterday and it messed me up. I went the other way. So I'm going to go over to the other side. Trial and error. All right, so this room is 7 by 18. And obviously, I want to make sure that this is going to be on the same plane as down here, and it looks like it is. So if not, one of your rooms may be off, you know, if you got something sticking out once I get done. So that one is the dining room. Now notice I could come in here and put like interior doors in if I wanted to, but there's really no, I don't think there's really any point. I could be wrong, but I'm sure somebody tell me that I am. But for my purposes, I'm just mainly worried about the outside stuff. All right, then your living room. So wait, I got to put the windows in. Window, there's one. It's right here. It's 5 foot by 6 foot. So there it is. And it's a B window, so I need to change a little bit about it. So it is not operable. It is fixed. And it had a bug screen, but we went ahead and selected that as our default. So it's good to go. I'm going to leave it. So actually the A window shouldn't have had a bug screen, but I'm not worried about it. Room, living room, 21 by 14. So I'm starting to like this, but yeah, it's a lot. But I am starting to like the program because once you kind of tinker with it a little bit, you just realize it's It's very visual, and for me that helps. So
Does the information on this update, does the update like Manual J?
what do you mean?
So if like new insulation types come out or a new standard of something comes out, does this software update?
I don't know. See, they come out with different versions of this. So this is the 2021 demo. Before I had the 2019 free demo on my computer, and I had to go in and reinstall this. It's got some different buttons, and it's a little easier to navigate. So I would say they update most of that stuff. Within reason. If there's something, I wish they had like spray foam and stuff, but I haven't been able to see that in any of these. I wish they would account for that. And I don't know, maybe it's in the full version. I don't know, but I'm starting to see why this is like to the right people. I'm starting to see why this is why this is so expensive, because it is pretty impressive. It's a lot, but all right. So this last piece is going to be my hallway, my closets, and this center hallway, and what they're calling stairs, which we don't really have. So this is where I have to draw this. So I'm going to come down here in a corner. I'm just going to pick a spot. Do it again. And I'm going to hold that down and draw a line. And then here, 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 here. Move out of my way. I can't see. And notice it hasn't made it a room yet until now. Oh, okay, now. See, now the lines got light, and this one out here darkened up. So now it is all boxed in. Got to put a door in, like so. That door's 3x7, stock doors, so not gonna make any changes to that. So there's our house again. Now I want to see if it changed anything. Zone information. Okay, it's better. 2862 is still a lot. Let's see my load meter, see where I'm losing it. It's not ducts anymore. It is walls. A lot on walls. All right, what'd I do wrong? Go back to draw. See, now this is where it's annoying, because it doesn't seem to want to let me change all those walls. After I've drawn it. It's like you're stuck with what you drew, unless I'm doing this wrong. Or you got to go room by room and select it. So I can do it this way. Say it's brick, 3/8 wood, R11 cavity, gypsum board, 2x4, 16-inch, no exterior board. I think the only thing I need to change was brick. So I guess, I don't know. Only thing I can figure is I got to go around and do that for every one of them. So I don't know. It seems like if this was a block, I could change that. But because it's room by room, it's like it won't let me edit the whole thing. And if you all are messing around with this and you find out how to do it, I would love to know. So I forgot to make these brick. I made them siding. So I'm going to have to change them. Because I'm still learning this software too. It's new to me.
Did you ever find out what program is Mac compatible?
I have not. I would like to think that, is there not a version when you go to pull that up that'll say like this is for PC and this is for Mac?
No,
Have
not
you
last
read-
time.
Have you read down through like the download part to say, does it say like this is only compatible with Windows?
Yeah,
It does?
yeah.
Oh. I have not then. I've never fooled with a Mac. But yeah, you might could. Okay, so that should do that. Let's see if it made any difference now. Changed it a little, didn't it? Or did it? Yeah. 28 made it worse, I think. Made my heating better, my cooling worse.
Was the Longhouse example intended to use the software here, or?
I mean, any house can use the software. It's, it's generic, so.
Well, I mean, did wherever you got the example of the Longhouse, did they tell you what it was supposed to be?
Well, they did theirs over a basement and stuff, so it was a little bit different. Um, but yeah, there is a sample of the Longhouse in the demo. All right, now my cooling went down to 28%. My wall heating is still at 31%. I'm losing quite a bit through windows. Still gaining. I'm gaining a lot through windows and gaining a lot through doors and ceilings. So now you can start to mess around with it.
Insulated?
Do what now?
Are the exterior doors insulated in the software, or did you select like an interior?
I selected them. They are metal polystyrene core.
Hey, Adam, try putting in interior doors.
Okay. I don't even think it.
Because you would think interior doors would make a big difference, because that would let air flow throughout the house.
It shouldn't change your load though. It'll change your room. It might change your room by room stuff, but your overall load is just what's coming in and going out of the house. But let's just see, because I don't know. Wood, hollow core. See, these all look like external doors, but let's see. No wood. Okay. Let's just see if it changed anything. Still looks the same. All right, so for giggles, let's make this wall a little better and see what happens. So let's say the cavity insulation is R30 and it is 2x6 frame. So we really invested some money in insulation in that one room.
Gam's room.
That changed it. Do what? All right, so that did change it. Just by doing that, it dropped it at 0.1 ton. Load meter. So I don't know if this is just more accurate based on all those specific materials than what we've done in the past, but I just really feel like this seems high. I could be wrong, but like I feel like we put everything in right. I just can't figure out. Just can't figure it out. Let me go back to the drawing. So in this room, let's make sure that my floor is right. Okay, so we used exterior floor, wood frame deck. Okay, let's say we put cavity insulation in this. Let's get a little carried away here as well, just to see what happens. I don't want that. I want about this. Didn't change it a lot, if any. But floors wasn't our big problem anyway, it was windows. All right, so you can also go up here and you can pull up this load sheet. And this is going to look real similar to your speed sheet. So you'll see me do this in that video. But I just kind of want to look at this and see if there's anything that really stands out. So I can go room by room and entire house. So my entire house, this is basically your speed sheet. Is there anything that just looks crazy? Nothing really just stands out except what's this? 19A. I'd have to look up and see what construction number 19 was. So we can go to each room and see what this is. So room 15, I don't know what room that is because I didn't label it. Is that the living room? Is that the big room? Looks like it is. Oh, wait. Wait. I know what's up. We still got that other room. Hold on. I figured it out. Okay, now since we did this, we can take this block away. That may be our problem. Let's delete this. Now let's see what we got. Oh, much better. That was it. Because I was fooling around with that earlier and I had that block load drawn, I had to do away with that. Now this looks good. I'm so happy. So 20,000, this makes a lot more sense. Yeah, 20,000 sensible, 1,700 latent, 44,000 eating, 2 to 2.5 ton. That looks so much better. Now let's look at this. Much better. Looks so much better. All right, so back to my drawing. I can go back and change this stuff back to what it's supposed to be now. So my room doesn't have insulation. Oh yeah, you can go in here and make like tile, hardwood, vinyl. So like in the bathroom, I made the bathroom's tile the other day when I was fooling around with it. See if it changed anything. No cavity insulation, done. And then we changed the wall insulation back too. Did I change the wall in that? Yeah, I did. R30. There it is. Should be R11. Done. All right, now let's see what we got. 2.5. Okay, so that makes more sense. 21 and 17, 46,000 heating. So happy. That's good. Okay. So when I drew this exact same house the other day in the video, the first video, my mistake was I didn't go up here and set load preferences. And I don't know if in any of these demo videos it shows you how to do that. But if you don't do that, it threw my ducts out of a row. It threw my ducts way off because you have to go in here and say that the ducts are located in the crawl space, not in the attic, that they're insulated a certain way, what type of system it is. If it's a so radial is like, I think the main ductwork goes around the outside of the house, so you're gonna have a lot more feet of duct. And I don't know if that's why it was getting a lot more too, but so I selected trunk and branch, which is going to be a center trunk with branches going out versus a radial where you're basically taking your trunk all the way around the perimeter and then just dropping vents out of the bottom of it. And so that was the default. So I set that first this time, and I came up because before I was getting 4.5 ton, and now I've got 2 ton, 2.5 ton. So that is great. Any questions? You see how I'm doing that a little bit now?
Like I said, I'll have to mess with it to see if I can figure it out.
But are you kind of seeing the idea a little better now, maybe? it's a pretty neat, like I said, it's a pretty neat program. It just takes some tinkering. All right. So that looks a whole lot better. Now, since we're on here, since I got you on here for just a few minutes, I want to show you a few more things I was messing with last night. So this is probably stuff that we're going to talk about in the future, but there's just so much stuff if you really fell down the rabbit hole. So you can select this little thing for duct. So now if I wanted to do duct, I can go to ducts and duct notation. Oh, that looks so much more normal. Because yesterday I was trying to do that and my readings were like ridiculous. I was getting like 200 in each one of these rooms. So now I can put these wherever I want them. Usually you want to put them under a window and you want to make sure where everything's located because obviously you're going to have stuff in this house. So you might need to say, okay, where are the cabinets in the kitchen going to go? Where's the toilet's going to sit? Where's the laundry stuff going to sit? And you kind of got to work around them. Usually you want these on an exterior wall and you want your returns on an interior wall. So
Why do you want them under a window necessarily?
because people don't usually sit stuff in front of windows.
Gotcha.
And it provides a little bit more of a barrier, a radiant barrier, that you got that cold air kind of coming up and blowing in front of that window. So it might help knock down a little bit of that radiant heat that's coming through. But the practical reason is people don't sit stuff in front of windows near as much as they do in front of a blank wall space. So that's just kind of a trade rule of thumb, I guess. So most of my supplies I'm putting around the outside, toward the outside, so I can create kind of a circulation. And I'm going to put my returns more in the center. You can do a central return, or you could come in and do room returns. And in that video, you're actually going to see me kind of do this again. But this makes a lot more sense now that I've got the right numbers. So if I wanted to, right now it's giving me, this is my air handler right here. So I can put it wherever I wanted it. And I say, okay, I want to put it down here. I want to put it up here. Now, obviously, it's not in the house. It could be if you had a closet, I guess. But if this is under the house, then you just have to assume that that's under the house. This is a return. Anytime you see one with a one line through it, and the X's are supplies. So it's going to give you kind of your main return CFM, but you can split that up if you want. So if you say, well, I want a central return in the hallway, but I also want returns in all my bedrooms because the doors are going to be closed. I want to circulate air out of that room and back in that room instead of just blowing air in it. So you can go down here and hit return. You can put one right here. Now, the only thing is I don't know. Let's see. If I wanted to match that to the room, automatic sizing, let's see if that changes anything. No, it did not change the dimensions of it. All right, so let's scratch that. Let's just leave that. Okay, now I'm going to go over here and put another one in another room. Let's see what this does. So normally I would like to match my load that I got coming into the room. This is just me, to the load coming out of the room. So if I got 155 coming in, I don't really want to pull 500 out. You know what I mean? Because then you're taking more out of that room than you're pulling in that room. So I don't know if this is going to let me select that or not. I'd love to be able to set it to a matching CFM, but right now it seems like I must be doing something wrong, or must be missing something probably. But I can go in here and put these in if I want. I don't want to put one in the bathroom for obvious reasons. And you'll notice as I do that, the other stuff gets smaller. So as I take away, the others are going to downsize themselves. I'm going to put them on the interior walls as best I can. And then, so right now they're still not matching, which I don't really like, but I don't know how to make that match. Don't want one in the kitchen. Don't want one in the laundry room. Probably don't want one in the dining room, but you could have. Living room probably needs one, or the hallway. Since that living room and hallway is kind of open, I'm probably going to put it in the living room if I can. Maybe kind of tuck it down here in the corner. And I would like to match that with what I got as well. Now, the thing is, like I said, I wish I could change the size of this. Da, 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 da. And if you all find this while you're working, let me know. I would think it'd be in this automatic duct sizing, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. Oh, that changed something. I don't know if that changed the actual airflow though. No, it didn't. So somewhere in here I should be able to change that, but I'm not having any luck. But anyway, you kind of see the gist of it. Yeah, you'd have to kind of fool around with that. All right, so once you've done that, then you can come in here and say, I want to build ductwork. Let's see, wait a minute. I'm going to go back to draw. How do I draw my duct loop? I got to remember. This is where I get outside of my comfort zone a little bit, but all right, I'm probably I got to remember how to do that, but I may have to stop. Draw. How do I put that in again? Oh, wait. So you can do it like this, and you can draw it in, but I don't want to do that. I want to take that away. And I want to, there's a way that it'll do it on its own. I did it last night. I got to figure it out. Again. So there's so many things. Well, I think it's in that other video, so you all will be able to see it there. I can't remember how I got it up to go there, but just so much information, but just got to learn how to sort through it. If you did this a lot, it would become real easy, but not doing it very often, it's pretty daunting, but it is pretty impressive. Duct drawing mode. I didn't want to do that. All right, so here's something else you can do. I think I mentioned this the other day in class, and I think I figured out how to at least tinker with it. And I think you have to have the full version to really dig into this. But you can go in here and you can say, I want to put in a split air source heat pump. Let's see, how did I do that? Okay, so I want to go here to split air source heat pump, and I can select a manufacturer. So if I want to do Rude, or if I want to do whatever, so if I want to select equipment, I can go down here and I can select whatever manufacturer I want to select. So if I wanted to do Goodman. So here you go, Brendan. Here's your Goodman. And you can select from equipment that is compatible. So you'll look and you'll see these different model numbers, SEER rating. So there's a bunch of 14 SEER stuff, capacities, units that I can choose from. And then if I wanted to change SEER, so let's say I wanted to go higher efficiency. I want to go 16 to 20. All right, now it's going to, basically do away with all the lower efficiency stuff, and it's going to go to 16 to 20 SEER stuff. So I can pick whatever unit I want to work with. And then I can select that, and it pulls up all this data for that unit. And in this is going to be some information that you would use to set up your duct design. I'm looking here, let's see. Actually, it's not in here. Okay, so if I select that, let's just say that's my unit. Ta-da, Goodman. Okay, I think this is because it's a demo, it won't pull up the costs. Or it's something to do with my setup, and I need to set where I'm at and how much I don't think I can do that because I think it's the demo, it won't let you do it. Because that's probably one of the big sales features. So if I went to the setup, I could say I'm in Kentucky, our electric cost is this much, our gas cost is that much, and it's going to do a side-by-side comparison, payback, return on years. If I would go in here and I say, okay, I want to compare that system with, so obviously I said that was 14 SEER, but let's just say, didn't mean to do that. Okay, so then I could come in here and do another one, and I could say now I'm going to select split AC with a gas furnace and see what that comes to. And you could run all those numbers side by side. Whatever one I want to pick. And then you come down here for your furnace and you select your furnace. And it's not going to let me do that, but wait, yeah, it will right here. Pick a furnace, whatever furnace. Okay. And then it's going to do the same thing here. So you could actually compare like what a heat pump and what a gas furnace would theoretically cost to operate and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. Be a good little tool if you were running a business for sure. Any questions? I don't want to bore you too much, but just kind of want you to see the capabilities of this, I guess. Then you could set up a presentation proposal, or a presentation, I mean, and you could go in here and say, okay, here's your, you could do investments. Obviously, if you had the numbers in, it would pull those up. It would say, here's your payback, here's your cost breakdown, return on investment, so on and so forth. So, I mean, you can see the capabilities here. It's a lot if you really dug into it. And then if Brendan was a big time salesman, he could keep all his info in here and see how many systems he'd sold. And once you do your duct design, you can actually design your duct, and it'll make a parts list for you.
That's nice.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how to make all this app. You have to select like what type of boots you're using, what type of takeoffs you're using, what type of duct you're using, whatever. But if you knew what you were doing, and I don't, if you knew what you were doing, it would pull all that stuff up and it would say, okay, your equipment estimated cost is this, whatever, your labor cost is this, your duct system equipment, this many pieces of this many pieces of that, and your margin, if you have a standard margin you're going with, and then you can run that and it'll pull that information into your proposal, into their payback, and say, well, this system's going to cost this much to install and this much to buy. So, and you may not break it down like that for them, but for you, it lets you break it down and say, it's going to, this is my labor cost, this is my whatever, and this is your total cost versus your payback for each system. And so that might be a tool that you could use to upsell them and say, if we put in a 20-SEER system according to this, you should save in the lifetime of this unit, $10,000 or whatever in cost. So pretty sweet, but yeah, very advanced. You can get into zone stuff if you wanted to zone.
You.
Yeah, zones are aggravating, but they have their place. And then where you all are at right now is you're going to get to the point where we're going to do this, and we're going to figure out our friction rate, and I need to learn how to do this myself. I need to find this information. So I'm trying to find the information for the specific coils in the air handlers, and I'm having trouble finding that, and it should be in there. And I don't know if I'm just overthinking it, and maybe it's just the number that's in the fan table charts. But if you pull up those charts, it'll give you some static pressures across the air handler. Or if you were buying like a furnace with a coil, it would give you the information for that coil. But I'm trying to break it down and find specific information about specific manufacturers' parts, but I'm having a little trouble doing that. So I'm still trying to figure that out before I roll out a video on that. But like in this one, in this one, let's say your coil external static pressure and pressure loss, your coil pressure losses across your evaporator is 0.4, let's say. You'd enter that in. Heat exchanger, if you have a gas furnace, that's going to be your heat exchanger static pressure across the furnace. If you have heat strips, that's going to go here. So heat strips actually do have a little bit of a pressure loss going through those wires, even though you'd think it doesn't. So it's pretty small, but let's just say it's 0.05. Your supply diffusers and return grills, this is going to be found in your manual D. You can find the information about those specific types of setups, but let's just say 0.03 is ours, for example. Return grills, let's say they're 0.05. Filter, okay, let's say our filter is fairly aggressive. I don't know a good number right off the top of my head. I could look up through the filter manufacturer. It's probably on the side of the filter. It'll probably give you your pressure loss. And you have to count that this filter could be dirty or it could be clean, so that can change some stuff. If you have a humidifier, that's changing it. Balancing dampers, it's changing it. Other devices, whatever. So your available static is this minus 1.3 return, minus 1.3 supply. And then let's see, measured run. Okay, now, I got to figure out how to do my duct work. I got to be able to put that on there, because once I draw my duct, it'll calculate my total equivalent length for me. Got to figure out how to put it in there. I did it the other day, and I can't figure out how I did it. I'm overlooking something real simple, because I did it the other night, just like nobody's business. Cancel. I won't do that right now. You'd think it'd be here, wouldn't you? Well, I'm just overlooking it. There's a button somewhere that'll draw it. That'll put, not that. I'll find it as soon as I get off here. No, not with that. I want the trunk. Well, here's my design CFM, so that's pretty cool. Pulls that up. I just want to figure out how to draw it. It's not here. Oh, you can even go in here and put like a truck in the driveway. If you had a garage or something, like you can get pretty fancy with all that. Well, I can't find it. But it is in that other, I think it's in that other video. I'll have to look back and see how I did it. I really wish I could because it would show me the other stuff. It would pull up the total equivalent length and all that for you that you all are trying to find.
The other day when you did it in class, you pulled it off the little menu you have on the screen next to the pie charts.
Right here. See, there's a way that it'll do it all without having to draw it in piece by piece, because I did it last night. So it's not there, I don't think. Man, I wish I could find that.
Guys, I'm gonna have to head out pretty soon.
All right, man. I'm ready to get off here too. If I can't figure it out here in the next couple minutes, I'm just going to have to. But man, it would be so handy if I could pull it up real quick. Show. Oh, maybe. Oh, here we go. Maybe. Supply branches. Nope, I don't want that. I feel like it's right in here. I'm just. I don't know. It's aggravating me. Well, we'll have to go back and watch that other, I guess. It's in there. I got to remember how I did it. Anyway. All right, guys. So I'm sorry that I left you hanging on that. I would love to be able to figure out how to do that again. But like I said, it's a learning process for all of us. It's some simple button. I know I'm just overlooking it, but y'all got any I guess maybe you at least see the capabilities of it at this point.
So what do
So-
we need to have done with this software?
Well, I know some of you are having trouble even getting to download, so I'm probably not going to require that you do it, but it's a tool that you can use if you want to. I want you to see how it works, and then from there, I'm probably going to work from this quite a bit, in addition to doing it other ways in class. But if I can work from this, that gives us some pretty good starting points on room CFMs and all that. But we also have that in our speed sheets, and we also could get that from our Cool Calc if we ordered the report. So just 3 different ways to do the same thing, basically. But we can use those ACA speed sheet numbers, and they should be real similar to these. You could compare these with those. So I may actually save this file and upload it. And that way you all can check it out just for reference, now that I think I've got a pretty good load. And then we may use this as our drawing to draw our duct system, design our duct system. So I did put a video on last night. That was me kind of going through a duct layout and how you would sort of size that based on CFMs in every room, every 4 feet, you're putting a piece of duct. My numbers were off because my load was off. Now I figured out what the deal with my load was. So I can, when we get back to class, we can use this new load and this new breakdown. So you can use that just to kind of say, oh, I kind of see what he's doing here. And then the idea is that I want us to be able to come up with an actual friction rate for this specific system. And we're going to size it compared to the 0.1. So I may actually go through and redo this based on these new numbers and make another video eventually, or do it in class. We may even run through it in class and just say, okay, what would your first piece of duct be at a 0.1 static? Because that's kind of the thing everybody uses as standard. And then, okay, what was our static? What was our friction rate? Our friction rate was this. Okay, so if we adjust it for our calculated friction rate, how does that change the size of our duct? So in order to do that, you have to know your total equivalent length, which would be handy if I could get this to draw, because it shows me all that. But since I can't get it to right away, I'll have to come back to that. But anyway, when you draw this out, basically what total equivalent length is it's saying, like, I've got this many feet of trunk, this many feet of run to get to that, and this many bends or this many types of takeoffs or boots or elbows or whatever. And so your longest run isn't necessarily your longest total equivalent run. It's not always the one that's farthest away. Usually it's probably one of the ones that's closer to farther away, but not necessarily. So it has to do with all the things that make up that run. And so I'm going to be going through that in a different lecture, to where I'm going through manual D a little bit, and I'm kind of showing you different types of systems. Hopefully I'll be back next week and we can have class Tuesday, but that's going to depend on if I test clear this week. So stay tuned, I guess. If not, we'll have to try to do it virtual, but I appreciate y'all jumping on here and being patient with me. But at this point, the load stuff probably takes a lot more time than we're going to be able to spend on the duct design, just because we're running out of weeks. But I at least want you to see kind of an overall version of it. We may not get quite as good with it as we did with the load stuff. I'll show you how I do it, how I was taught to do it, how a lot of people are going to do it in the field. And then from there, you can kind of tweak that to say, okay, can I make that process a little better by calculating my friction rates and that stuff, and just not using a lot of general rules of thumb. Can I improve this a little bit? But the process is basically the same. So stay tuned. I'll probably be posting some more stuff on that here in the next few days, since I got plenty of time on my hands. So anybody got any questions? I know you got 1,000 of them probably, but Chris, you good?
Yeah, I think so.
So I know you had said last class that when we went over right soft, you were like, I didn't understand anything. And I was pretty good up until that. My hope is that between this and those videos that I've posted, it'll seem a lot simpler.
Yeah, I figured out a lot more. I've just now started like designing it, so I'm figuring out how it all works. But yeah,
Yeah. It just
I
takes a
think
little bit of getting used to.
yeah, it's kind of different.
There's a learning curve for sure.
Yeah,
But I mean, if you were in a position where you've done this all the time, once you got used to it, it'd be pretty sweet. It just
Yeah.
takes some practice. So
well, especially if it
So do we,
calculates up all of your duct design and all that kind of stuff.
do what now?
I said, especially if it automatically designs your duct design and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it does. Let me see if I can show you something here real quick. So I'm gonna stop this share, and I'm gonna share I'm just gonna pull up this picture to show
so
you.
do we need to draw this out and send you a copy of it?
You don't have to. This is just a way that you could do that if you wanted to. So here we go. See that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now these squares, I drew this for a video last night. I put that in myself, like as I was designing this trunk system. But the rest of it, this is all calculated for you. This is drawn through RightSoft just by clicking a button, and I can't remember that button. But just by clicking that button, it throws in all these supplies and the returns. So the dotted lines are the returns, and the solid lines are the supplies. And then I came back and said, okay, now every 4 feet, how many runs came out of that? What size does my duct need to be to carry it? Based on the friction rate I used and the amount of cubic feet per minute going through the duct. So I may go back and kind of redo this based on this new load, since I've got my load fixed now, or we may do it in class so you can see me do it. I'll tell you what. Okay, here's an idea. Let's see. If I can clear this out and make these blank, you all should be able to fill them in. So this old load has a lot more stuff in it than the new one has because my load was way off. Way more cubic feet per minute. You can see this living room has like 500 cubic feet per minute, 207 in the dining room, whereas now, they got 100 and something a piece. So if I take this old blueprint away, but I leave these boxes on here, and you watch the video of me going through it, I think you could come in and fill these in based on the new values. And so I may put an assignment out there for you all to do that. That'll make it really easy. I've already done most of the legwork for you. You just got to fill in the blanks. What I was going to have you do is actually sketch it out from scratch and do one. We'll probably do that with our new friction rate, but for this one, just use 0.1, and we'll design by this new blueprint. So I'll upload this, I'll change this out, delete this old one, and I'll put this new one over top of it. And you all should be able to just fill in the sizes of these ducts based on how I went through it in the video. And basically all that it is when you're doing this, and I know this is going on for a while, but basically all that it is, if the unit is in the middle or wherever it's at, the first piece of duct has to be, so this green is my supply. The first piece of duct has to be big enough to carry everything. However many cubic feet per minute that this air handler is going to blow, and however much, so the air handler is going to be sized to match the house. So if the house needs, however many cubic feet per minute, whatever it needs, I can't remember what the layout is, but if it needs 1100, then this first piece of duct has to be able to carry 1100 cubic feet per minute at my friction rate. Whatever that friction rate is, if we're using 0.1 on that ductulator, on that video, it's going to show you how to do it. You're going to line up that 0.1 with 1100. That first piece of duct has to carry everything. Then if I split it, the first piece to the left only has to be able to carry everything from that point on. The first piece to the right only has to be able to carry everything from that point on. And so basically what I do, there's different ways to do this. There's different layouts. This is the way I was taught to do it. Every time you carry whatever you need until you take something off. As soon as you take a duct off, however much you removed from your load, you reduce it after that. So, in this example, if this bathroom up here was 129, for example, it's wrong, but if it was, this 8x14 piece has to be able to carry all of these runs downstream. And so I'd line up my ductulator and I'd say, okay, I've got this many CFM. And when you start looking at that video, it'll make more sense, but I'm just kind of trying to summarize it. And then out of that first piece, I brought this bathroom vent out. All right. So now that I brought the bathroom vent out, I don't need to carry it anymore because it's gone. So my next piece needs to be able to carry everything minus the one I already took off. Does that make sense? And so you're just slowly reducing the size of the duct to try to keep your static pressure the same. Because as you take vents off, there's less and less air that's needed, but you're trying to keep that whole system under a constant pressure by reducing the volume. Because if you just say, I'm going to run everything exactly the same size, and then you start shooting ducts off the side of it, if you really don't know what you're doing, those end runs are going to suffer because there's not enough pressure to push those end ones. That's why mobile homes don't work. One of the reasons mobile homes don't work very well, because they're just straight line, there's no reductions, and it just goes from one end to the next, and it just spits it out to the first one it comes to. By the time it gets to the end, there's nothing left. And so the idea of doing it this way, where you reduce every time, is anytime I take something off, the next piece gets smaller, so that it maintains a constant static pressure. Does that make sense?
I think it does.
Yes.
Okay. So it's like, okay, here, another example would be like if you had a balloon. All right. So, and you had a balloon and it was blew up at 15 PSI. All right. And then you reduce the size of the balloon, or you let a little air out, but you were still trying to maintain 15 PSI. Your balloon would have to get smaller to maintain that same pressure. That's a weird way to say it, but it's, like a tractor tire could have 15 PSI in it, and a bicycle tire could have 15 PSI in it, but obviously one of them has more air than the other. So the pressure needs to remain constant, but the space is going to be bigger if I have to move more air. And so that's a basic guideline for it. And then the return is essentially the same thing. Your return has to be able to carry everything. And once you bring stuff in or take stuff off, it gets smaller. So clear as mud, right? Everybody's asleep.
No.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy this, and I'm going to delete this. See if I can do this. And I'm going to put this new one on here. There we go. All right. So everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. So your job, you don't even really need the duct layout at this point because I'm just telling you where they're at. You can connect the dots with your pencil. How many pieces come out of each piece of duct? So if this is your layout, you don't want anything to come out of your first piece if you can help it. So how many pieces is going to, what's going to come out of each piece? So I'll just come in here and I'll delete these values, and I'll say this piece needs to be 8 by whatever. That makes sense? And then you're just going to fill in the blank.
We can do all that with their slide rule. We don't have to have the software.
No, you're going to do all of a slide rule. Yes. So that is, you don't have to have the software. I just pulled these numbers from the software. So the software helped me get to this point, but your speed sheets would get you to this point too. If you were using a speed sheet, like when you did your speed sheet loads, it gives you CFMs per room. So you could compare those numbers to these numbers, see how close we got. Because your speed sheets, once you got done, should have gave you CFMs in that room. And I would say we're pretty doggone close. So I need to know total CFMs. And basically you could add these up. I mean, that's what it's gonna come to. According to my zone information, it looks like let's see here. Well, where's that at? I can't find nothing now. Zone meter, let's see. Okay, so it is total, go all the way back to the beginning of this. It looks like 997 is what mine's saying. Needed for heating and for cooling. That's CFMs. So I may write that at the top and just say 997 total. If you add that up, that should be what they come to if you add them up. And that's, return and supply is going to be the same because you're pulling out everything you're putting in. So you're just circulating air in the building. So does that seem doable? So watch that video that I went through last night, that I did last night. Even though it's going to be a little bit more gobbledygook than I'd like for it to be, this may sum that up, and you're just going to fill in the blanks. And then you can save this as a Word document, and I'll create an assignment, and you can upload it. And so, I mean, it's as simple as putting numbers in at this point, but you just got to make sure they're the right numbers.
Okay.
And then you'll see me say, too, like, you can make this first piece 8 by whatever, or 10 by whatever, or 12 by whatever. You just got to be aware that, like, if you make a piece of duct wider, you got to make sure you have enough headroom for that. So most of it tends to be more like 8-inch stuff, unless it's in an attic or something and it doesn't matter, or if overhead or something. But if it's in a basement, you want to get that as tight as you can. So it's going to be wider and not as tall versus, you could make it 12 by 10 if you wanted to, or you could do 10 by 18 or whatever, or 8 by 25, so whatever you got there. So the first piece, I'm going to leave it blank, and you can say whatever you want it to say. So you can make it 8 by, or you can make it 10 by, and there's not a right or wrong answer there. It's just whichever you choose.
It helps them out.
Yep. After that, I go with 8 by, unless it's a huge system. I mean, even 5-ton stuff. I mean, you may be 8 by 26 or something, 8 by 30, or whatever. But now another thing we may end up doing is we may flip this and say, okay, now what if the air handler were moved at the end of the house? Because that changes everything. Because if I flip the air handler to the end of the house, now this whole duct has to carry everything until everything's taken off. So now my first piece of duct has to be 10 by 18 or whatever, but then the next piece probably has to be similar because it's like a shotgun. It has to carry it all the way down. Plus your total equivalent length is going to go up because now you're pushing everything farther. So this longest run is way farther from the air handler than it is in this case. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, like my house.
Yes, my house is that way too. My mechanical room's on the end of the house, and it's like a shotgun. You have to push it all the way to the other end of the house. So your ductwork has to be a lot bigger, and your static is a lot more because you have to push it farther. So yeah, we'll probably do that if there's time. At least experiment with that. But once you do a couple of these, I always like doing them when I was in the field, because once you do it a couple of times, you kind of, once you know your friction rate, or if you're using a standard one or whatever, it's basically just, okay, where's the next run going to go? Where's the next run going to go? And it's I always kind of liked it. And then from this, you're going to make a parts list. So then you say, okay, I need so many pieces of 8 by 10 and so many pieces of 8 by 20, and, send that to the parts house and have them get your ductwork ready for you. But yeah, it's a lot of planning on the back end.
So we're just going to draw out what we think it needs to be based on
your ductulator. Yeah. Once you watch those videos of me working through that ductulator, and I'm gonna post. I think I posted a couple more of some other people doing it too. I would have loved. There's a digital version of that, and I tried to buy it last night, and it wouldn't let me upload it. It says it's not available anymore. So I don't know if that's something that they've done away with. But if I could have pulled that up on here, you could have seen exactly what I was doing on the computer screen. But unfortunately, you had to watch me stick it in front of my webcam and try to show you how I'm turning it. So it's a little different. So I'll be posting this assignment real shortly. You can just work on that for next class. So this will be our first sample, which will be a 0.1 static rate, center positioned air handler. And then from there, we can move it around and say, well, what if it was here? Or what if we use duct board instead of metal or whatever? And so that duculator will tell us all that stuff. Cool. Cool. All right. Y'all have a good day. And I will be recording. This is recorded. So if you want to go back and skim through this and pick up some points that we talked about that you missed, go back and scroll through it and you'll be good to go. Y'all have a good one. I'll be letting you know about class next week. Hopefully I'm clear and I can come back. They told me I needed to quarantine for 14 days at the school. I was like, the CDC's not even doing 14 days. And so regardless, I have to get permission if I want to do it.